Right, can I ask you lot a serious question here? How many times do I need to have watched that Chris Eubank Senior entrance and his ring walk with his son, Chris Eubank Jr., before it starts to become a problem? How many times can I watch it before it starts to seriously affect my working life, my social life, my relationships? Because, my God, I've watched it over 500 times and I cannot get enough of it. And I'm not even your typical Eubank fan. I'm the Fury fanboy, aren't I? But I can't get enough of the old Eubank stuff anyway. If you didn't see yesterday's video, I promised you guys that I would go and sit back and rescore the entire fight after it gets uploaded. I did not think that it would get uploaded this quick. Huge shout out to His Excellency for uploading it from the Ring magazine. So what we're going to do now is sit down and score it round by round. And as of today, Monday, the 28th of April, Conor Benn has put out a social media post where he's on the running machine. He's speaking about the fact that he watched the fight and he has released us his scorecards way quicker than he was able to release the results of the tests or the 3,500 page dossier, whatever it was. No, I'm joking. I think we can stop the banter for now about the whole failed drugs test because he proved himself to be an absolute warrior. But he says that he scored it to himself by 1 round. So let's see if this one was closer upon a second viewing. Right, so here we go. Intense stare off for round 1. And the first thing I thought, I know we've seen these two come face to face together already, but the first thing I thought was, Ben's looking right up there. Chris Eubank Jr., we knew he was the taller man, but you know, sometimes you can be taller and not be massively impactful in how much bigger you are, but I could see straight away there, a dehydrated version or not, Chris Eubank Jr. is just so much bigger than Conor Benn, who was never the biggest welterweight. Let's be honest. Kell Brook, big welterweight. You know, Sean Porter, decent sized welterweight. Conor Benn, not the biggest of welterweights. Not the biggest of welterweights. Round 1, obviously. Starting off with Eubank Jr. just asserting a little bit of dominance with that lead hand. And straight away what we expected of Conor Benn, leaping the feet in, attempting big shots, but so far, Eubank Jr., I don't want us to use the word controlling, but so far, Eubank Jr. operating with that jab and doing a good job in doing so. Nothing too clean yet landing by either man, but the jab and sort of lead hook off of that jab from Chris Eubank Jr. has landed already this round. Throws 3 and then a single. Doesn't land any of them, but enough to keep Ben off. And Ben tries with a big wild hook. Eubank Jr. too sharp for that. They both score landing shots here. And just as Ben sits those feet down, Eubank Jr. takes that step back each time because he knows he's planting the feet to throw something big. Ben attempting the jab a few times but not having much success with it. Both men making each other miss here. But I'd say Eubank Jr. winning the battle of those jabs so far, which was probably always something that was going to happen. It was always going to be a case of the bigger shots were going to be those that needed to land for Conor Benn. Now, Conor Benn hits Eubank Jr. around the back of the head there. That is a rabbit shot, but the shot that Eubank Jr. scored on the inside, not for me a rabbit punch. And there you go. Now the first big shot of the round landed from Conor Benn there, which was the right hand. Does it level things up? I mean, Eubank Jr.'s definitely landed more so far this round, but you might say that that's the best shot of the round. You may well say that. And the size difference is apparent. Conor Benn not able to back Eubank Jr. up in the way that he would like to be able to, in the way that he was able to with welterweight opponents. But that doesn't mean he can't take the centre of the ring. In doing so, and in trying to close distance, you are there to be walked onto shots a lot more. And with a Chris Eubank Jr. who has a great uppercut and a decent enough jab at a certain level, you do leave yourself exposed a little bit. So a lot of exertion in this first round from Conor Benn, but apart from that one right hand, none of it coming to fruition for me. And although both men missing, I would say that Eubank Jr., there you go, straight away there with the 1-2, landing again. And for me, that's a clear Eubank Jr. round. Again, boxing is always subjective, so I don't want to say, look, I don't know how anyone could score it anything but a Eubank Jr. round. But for me personally, a very, very clear Eubank Jr. round. I think that he was more assertive with his lead hand. I think that Conor Benn looked like he really was exerting himself and trying very hard, but finding the task of being able to impose himself on a bigger man a lot harder than maybe he had anticipated, maybe he had made out, and maybe that we had heard he found it in sparring from his dad, Nigel Benn. Either way, a Eubank Jr. round for me. Right, round 2 about to begin. Conor Benn needing a better round because I've got Eubank Jr. 1 up on the scorecards. And straight away here, Benn imposing himself a little bit more. Finding his way to get himself in there and not get hit on the way in, but then not put the important bit on the end of it, which is obviously landing those shots once you get in past the bigger man with the longer reach, who's been able to impose it upon you so far. But making Eubank Jr. miss, staying cool, and there's a right hand from Conor Benn that lands there. Into the clinch straight away after. The referee wants to talk into him, wants to calm things down ever so slightly. However, at the same time, I think with the styles of these two fighters, you've got to give them the opportunity to work. Conor Benn feinting, wanting to see if Eubank will bite on them feints, but he doesn't really. Both meeting each other with the jab. Conor Benn with a straight right hand comes over the top. Eubank Jr., I wouldn't say tentative with that jab, but he definitely wants to line it up. There you go, right hand from Conor Benn. Good shot. And the right hand's landed maybe 3 times now from Conor Benn in this round. Again, with Eubank Jr., he wants to make sure with the jab that it's definitely there before he brings something off of the back of it. And in doing so, maybe is wasting a little bit of time here. I think that Conor Benn looks more settled here. However, when you look at the feints from Conor Benn before he enters, right? If you look at a usual Conor Benn fight, he maybe makes 1 of these feints, 2 of these feints, and then after it, regardless whether or not his man has bit on it, Conor Benn really missing by some margin there. But Eubank Jr. also, apart from the odd touch up top, and Conor Benn lands a jab, apart from the odd touch up top, then down to the sort of midsection, Eubank Jr. not landing a lot. Body shot there, knocked down by Benn. Jab there from Eubank. 2 jabs from Eubank. And a jab from Conor Benn. Good. Looked like it had more power on it than Eubank's. And there you go. Right hand. Big right hand from Conor Benn. He gets a little bit trigger happy. He looks like he's ready to throw the kitchen sink at Eubank. He is probably not used to Conor Benn landing a right hand like that and having his man just stand in front of him. No, I'm not saying every time he lands a right hand like that, they go down Chris Algieri style, but what I'm saying is usually your man retreats a little bit, whereas Chris Eubank Jr. is happy to keep things in, I would say, not the centre of the ring, but, you know, not... He's not boxing on the outskirts here, Chris Eubank Jr. It's a good round for Conor Benn, round 2. It's the round he needed. He's settled into the fight massively there, Conor Benn, and landed probably, I would say, 4 to 5 power shots in that round. Listen, he also missed a lot of shots. He also got caught with a fair few shots, but I'm going to give that round to Conor Benn, which makes it 1-1 on my scorecard so far. I think that if you were to look back And highlights can be misleading because sometimes you could get the guy getting peppered with the lead hand, but he lands 3 right hands in that round, and on highlights it would make it look like he's won it. So I don't want to be at risk of doing that, but what I will say is when you've got a round that's fairly close and competitive, and then I say, okay, the most eye-catching shots from Chris Eubank Jr. in that round would have probably been maybe jabs, if I'm honest. Jabs thrown at the same time as Conor Benn, and then you've got Conor Benn landing a couple of right hands at will. I would say 4 to 5 of those right hands. You've got to give the round to Conor Benn there. Round 3 beginning, and now Eubank Jr. starting to bite on the feints a little bit, which would be uplifting for Conor Benn, because you're seeing that now your man's starting to react a little bit. But when Eubank Jr. sits that head down, and he's just landed a jab there, Conor Benn. When Eubank Jr. sits that head down and jabs, that right hand does just fall short more often than not. I'm not saying every single time, but I'm saying more often than not, it does just fall short. There you go, the right hand lands again from Conor Benn. He rushes in with the next one too. And the left hook wobbles the legs of Chris Eubank Jr. No one is telling me that the legs didn't do a slight dance there for Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn trying to hit on the break. Eubank Jr. speaking to Conor Benn, telling him that the shot doesn't have anything on it. But as we all know in boxing, sometimes your words mean the exact opposite, and that there is the most significant moment of the fight to this point. Conor Benn throws, and then he comes back, swings his body all the way into it with the left hook, and the legs do a small dance there of Eubank Jr. Looks to have fully recovered. Conor Benn still very, very weary, and this is why what you're seeing play out right now is exactly why we talk about weight classes in boxing and their importance. Because I'm telling you now, any other fight, name me one. I've been at multiple Conor Benn fights. Any other fight, Conor Benn lands that shot that he landed on Chris Eubank Jr. and believe me, the boy goes rushing in like there's not another round left in this fight, let alone another 9 odd rounds. So you can tell that he knows he can't recklessly rush in. He has to pick his moments, but picking his moments is what he has done in these last 2 rounds. And unless something dramatic happens here, this will be another one as they wrestle around on the floor there. This will be another one that I score to Conor Benn. Eubank still with his feet sharp, still with those feet sharp. As Conor Benn feints, it's a little half step back. Eubank quite front foot heavy here as well, which against the fighter with a right hand like that, Conor Benn, you don't want to be. You want to keep that weight on the back foot, keep your head away from him. And Eubank biting now. And he's biting with punches, and they're punches that are landing. So I can't really discredit it. But he is biting on the feints and the movements and the sharp twitches of Conor Benn. End of round 3. I'm going to score that to Conor Benn. Conor Benn now has the lead in my book. He is 2 rounds to 1 up. However, when you look at Eubank Jr., this is where the question marks, if you're watching it live, come into things, right? Have you faded after round 1? Because you look a little bit slower. Your feet look a little bit slower. Or have you realised after round 1, this kid cannot crack hard enough to hurt me? And there's plenty of people that go, well, Conor Benn's more ferocious than Liam Smith. And even Liam Smith was shot to pieces, even the version that beat Chris Eubank Jr. But there's factors. There's always factors that go into a loss. And I'm not ready to write off any of those possibilities and any of those factors. And I think realistically, that there's always that potential that Chris Eubank Jr. has felt the power in round 1, known that Conor Benn is not able to sustain, or at least believed that Conor Benn's not able to sustain that sort of ferocity, and therefore that is why you have seen Chris Eubank Jr. maybe not be as assertive as he was in the early rounds. We're into the 4th. And this was the round that Nigel Benn actually said that Conor Benn would win by knockout by, as he whips a big body shot there. But Eubank Jr. doing some nice work with the lead hand now. He's getting in, he's stinging with it, and he's getting out before Conor Benn can really catch him with one of these big loaded up shots. And the problem is, sometimes when you're watching it on the TV, you'll watch a shot that misses by a whisker and you'll think it's landed. Some of these big right hands that Conor Benn's throwing, the odd ones landing, but I would say the majority of them aren't. And there you go, some lovely work from Eubank Jr. He catches him with the lead left hook as he comes in. He goes downstairs to the body. And this is really where you're starting to see experience. Great uppercut from Chris Eubank Jr. Right uppercut. And then a jab down to the body. Conor Benn staying in this. Conor Benn staying sharp, staying competitive, but knowing that he's been on the end of a few well-timed shots here. And when you're getting around the back of your man and you're trying to hit him in the back, things like that, that's a sign of clear frustration from me. Conor Benn frustrated at the way this round has started. This was supposed to be the round, by all accounts, according to his dad, that he takes Eubank out. And so far, despite you looking at an aggressive Conor Benn, as you see there with the jab and uppercut, it's a Conor Benn that's getting caught. It's a Conor Benn whose aggression is actually working against him. And in terms of the accurate punching and almost letting it come to him on a plate, not having to do too much to draw it out, this is a great round here for Chris Eubank Jr. Using not a whole lot of energy, and still landing the more accurate punches and the classier punches, if I'm being completely honest. Neither man sort of landing with combinations. There's a little screw shot on the inside there from Conor Benn. Conor Benn's attempting that right hand multiple times. Chris Eubank Jr. very, very sharp defensively for it and very aware of it. In terms of the lead hand, in terms of the battle of the jabs, and that's often what we separate fighters with in close competitive fights. Left hook counter there from Eubank as Conor Benn throws his. In terms of the lead hand, I'm not seeing much from Conor Benn's. I'm seeing a lot from Eubank Jr.'s, and I'm not stating that every shot lands, as Conor Benn lands a good right hand there and speaks to Chris Eubank Jr. They're talking to each other here. And Chris Eubank Jr., I've seen the ringside footage of this. He's saying weak to Conor Benn. Weak as he lands that right hand. And this is a round with 10 seconds to go. Sharp hands there from Chris Eubank Jr. He's got him with the jab. Then he's got him with the right hand. Conor Benn's looking busy. But this is a big moment here for Eubank Jr. Now, round 4 may be one of, or potentially the most significant fight of the round. You look at Conor Benn there as he walks back to his corner. I feel like that round hasn't completely taken the confidence altogether away from Conor Benn, but it has been a round that's demoralised him a little bit. Those sort of long uppercuts from the outside that Chris Eubank Jr. throws are shots that people have accused him in the past of being able to throw against lesser level fighters, but wouldn't be able to throw it against world level fighters. And by the way, we still don't know whether he can. That's not me claiming Conor Benn is world level. I think that I could do another video on where I think both guys are at, but we've seen from this round, and Conor Benn has found out from this round, that when Chris wants to hit you, Chris can probably land on you. Round 5, Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. exchanging words there. And referee Victor Loughlin straight away stepping in. And he's basically saying he doesn't want any of this. He wants him to box clean and to keep quiet. And they do say about boxing, it's the most honest conversation that two men can have. And neither of you speak a word. So make of that what you will. Don't know what happened there. He almost somersaulted over Conor Benn. Eubank Jr. went for the 1-2. I remember watching this live and I was thinking, Eubank should just jump on him here. Not because he's gone down through being hurt, because he hasn't. He's tumbled over. But sometimes you'll slip in the ring, and when you first get back to your feet, you're just a little bit vulnerable. But the opportunity's gone now. And now there you go. Eubank Jr. boxes in well behind the jab. Conor Benn has a response for it. By the way, I scored that last round, if I didn't already say, to Chris Eubank Jr. So we're 2 apiece here in the fifth. And so far, quite level in the fifth. Quite level between the two. Oh, good lead uppercut there from Chris Eubank Jr. And he's getting his work off and he's tying him up or getting out of that situation. Real smart boxing here from Chris Eubank Jr. And it's looking here very much like a man who has done the world title fights, has done world level opposition, has been in there and done championship rounds as he lands the 1-2 on Conor Benn. And the key thing here is Conor Benn really looks to me like he's trying with everything. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but when Conor Benn throws that 1-2, it'll often miss. When Chris Eubank Jr. will throw it, it will land, but it won't land with that much power. But he knows, it's experience. He knows it doesn't really need to. And Conor Benn throws so much in that, like when you see there, he misses and Eubank Jr. comes under the shot. Oh, good 1-2 there from Chris Eubank Jr. Some great boxing on display here from Eubank Jr. Sharp with his entries, even sharper with his exits. Those right hands that you were seeing him being caught with in round 2 and round 3 at the moment are a thing of the past. And there's a good left hook there from Conor Benn. It was a similar left hook to the one that had wobbled the legs of Chris Eubank Jr. earlier on in the fight, but it doesn't have the same effect. So Conor Benn still very much in this one. Eubank Jr. misses with a couple of punches there. A little bit of talking from the two. Both attempting the jabs, but nothing too clean landing. And again, maybe this is one of the ones where people could call it a swing round. For me, Eubank Jr. has outlanded Conor Benn in this round. There, good jab there from Eubank Jr. Conor Benn equals it up with a jab himself. Eubank Jr. letting his hands go towards the end of it. Again, I understand at the end of round 5 there, if you want to call that a swing round. I'm not going to argue massively with you. For me, it's a Eubank Jr. round. And Eubank Jr. goes 3-2 up as a result of the work done in that round. I thought that Conor Benn had his moments. There was a great left hook that he leapt in with and he landed. He landed a couple of jabs there, but the quality of the work there from Eubank Jr. And if we were talking, okay, the quality's there from Eubank Jr., but Conor Benn's throwing 5 times as many punches as him, then maybe we would factor that in and we would start to look at that as being something that maybe we need to assess and we need to judge this fight on, but that's really not what is happening, or not what I'm seeing, at least. The way I'm seeing things is both men are throwing about the same. Maybe Conor Benn looks like he's expanding himself a little bit more than Eubank Jr., but for me, Eubank Jr. with the cleaner work there. 3-2 up as we enter the 6th. Conor Benn straight away here. Not only with his weight on that front foot as he throws this jab, he's looking to really close the space. Because as of yet, he's found it hard. And there was a double left hook there from Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn looking to fight fire with fire. Neither man landing too clean. But you can see when they're in the clinch here how big Chris Eubank Jr. really is in comparison to Conor Benn. And Conor Benn, right, I know he leaps in with his shots. He puts his body on the line. He doesn't think about what's coming back at him at times, and that's why he's such an entertaining fighter. But Conor Benn has never had this much ground to cover when he does leap in with those shots. And listen, let's remember that Conor Benn's team requested for a smaller ring for this fight. I think on a card without world title fights, which I believe this one was. Yeah, I don't think there was any world title fights on the card. On a card without world title fights, good left hook there from Eubank Jr. This is probably the smallest ring you're going to get on a card without world title fights, I would imagine. And a smaller ring will always suit the more aggressive man, but it will only suit them if they're able to impose those aggressive tactics. And there, Eubank Jr. with some lovely work, a right uppercut as Conor Benn comes in with his own shots. And it's very much, for me, a case of Conor Benn bringing Eubank Jr.'s food on his plate to him. And sometimes that plate might be hot. Sometimes you might burn your fingers. So I'm not saying it's as simple as that. But if you stay in the right positions, Conor Benn will walk himself onto shots just in trying to get to you. And Eubank Jr. has stayed so composed here. So composed, so controlled. And actually, his size has given him the ability, in my opinion, here. In my opinion, racking up another round in this sixth. His size has given him the ability. Right hand there from Conor Benn. 2 jabs land after that from Chris Eubank Jr. Again, it comes down when we talk about swing rounds to what do you like? Do you like the one backhand that lands from Conor Benn, or the fact that Chris Eubank Jr. then lands a couple of jabs, good bit of lateral movement, so then miss a few shots. When he ties him up on the inside, he lands 2-point scoring shots, and now the jabs land in 9 out of 10 times he throws it for Eubank Jr., to be honest. Lands on Benn again there, then he clinches. Rabbit punch around the back of the head, which he is being told off there for. He's complaining to the referee, but for me it was a rabbit punch. It was an unnecessary one, because Eubank Jr.'s done enough to win that round again for me. Round 6 has now finished, and that means that I scored round 1 to Chris Eubank Jr., round 2 and 3 to Conor Benn, round 4 I scored Chris Eubank Jr., which meant going into the 5th I had it level. I've now given Eubank Jr. the 5th, I've given Eubank Jr. the 6th. I have got Chris Eubank Jr. winning this fight at the moment by 2 points on my scorecard. And it's a really interesting one, because I watched it on the night with the Sky Sports commentary, and it's strange, you know. Sky Sports, obviously, Ben Shalom, the head of Sky Sports. Now, when I say it's strange, there shouldn't be biased commentary to either side, but you'd always imagine it would be to the promoters, fighters side. It was very pro Conor Benn, in my opinion. Round 7 has begun. Eubank Jr. steps straight in with that jab. Conor Benn really letting his hands go, not finding the cleanest of targets, but he does with that left hook there. And Chris Eubank Jr. happy to fight his way out. There was questions about Eubank Jr.'s stamina going into this one, whether or not he could still dig in the trenches like we had seen him do earlier on in his career. And you've got to say, so far, so good. Oh, and that is a great shot, and a shot that maybe if you had your back to it in the crowd, you didn't see. Conor Benn lunges in, trying to attempt a big one again, and Chris Eubank Jr. takes the slight step back. He throws that hook out there, but it's all about the right uppercut. It pings the head back of Conor Benn, and it was a really sharp, well-timed shot. I'm going to say best shot of the fight, and I say that as Chris Eubank Jr. lands a great screw shot on Conor Benn. This is another good round here for Eubank Jr. Landing the jab on Conor Benn. Now happy really to only react with the feet when Conor Benn lunges to something big, but when he tries to clip him with that right hand, Eubank Jr.'s got the size advantage to be able to have his feet away from Conor Benn in a position where Conor Benn can't really reach him, but he can reach Conor Benn. And there's a difference for it. It's not just the size. The size is a huge, huge factor. One of the differences for it is because, as you're seeing here, when Chris Eubank Jr. lets 5 shots go, it's the equivalent to Conor Benn letting 1 jab go. The effort levels. There you go. Right hand and a left hook, and then another right hand from Eubank Jr. Eubank Jr. is flowing here. Eubank Jr. is in the flow state. He's not tense. He's not tentative. He is boxing it as and when he sees the openings, and Conor Benn's work is so much more forced. This is a beautiful round of boxing from Eubank Jr. Round 7 here. Left hook, right hand lands as Conor Benn lunges in there. And again, people, I don't want you to think this is biased commentary on my behalf. I don't want to understate the fact that Conor Benn is landing the odd shot here and there. But I mean, there, you've seen him throw 7 shots. He landed 1, which was the jab. What I'm saying is, when he throws his hands, Chris Eubank Jr.'s success rate is so much better. He's landed the better of that exchange there and probably thrown 3 punches to Conor Benn's 7 odd shots. And he's sneaking that right uppercut to the ribs in underneath. It works very well against Kamil Serraj Meta. Not maybe working so well against Benn, who does land a right hand of his own there. Chris Eubank Jr. stays in with it. The harsh reality of this, and Eubank Jr. with a left hook, he comes off balance towards the end of the round. Big Eubank Jr. round. I've got him 3 points ahead on my scorecard. The harsh reality of things here is that we all looked at this and we thought, okay, if it's going to be a points decision, maybe we're looking at a Chris Eubank Jr. win. If it's going to be a stoppage, maybe we're looking at Conor Benn because of his explosiveness. Yet, that explosiveness is only explosive if you've got a target to explode on. If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a noise? Are you explosive? Are you powerful? Have you got enough punch power to hurt men in the weight division above you if you are not able to get yourself in a position to land those telling shots? And that was the tail of the fight. It's the tail of it so far. I've got Chris Eubank Jr. 3 points up on my scorecard here. Round 8 now beginning. Both men starting lively. Conor Benn really trying to be assertive here. He's throwing a lot. And a 1-2 lands from Chris Eubank Jr. But again, both men will be exerting a lot of energy, including Chris Eubank Jr. He has not worked as hard at the start of round 8 as I would imagine he would have had to have worked going in to round 8. But I do have him 3 points up. Oh, and Conor Benn lands the right hand on the inside there. Chris Eubank Jr. almost rolls reversed. Throws 5-6 punches back, but none landing too cleanly. Little bit better here from Conor Benn. Uppercut left hook from Chris Eubank Jr. Not having a huge telling effect, but he's not loading up on these shots like Conor Benn is. And Conor Benn definitely tentative of what's coming back at him. Left hook from Conor Benn. He attempts the right hand on the end of it, but the left hook landed. And now he's missing a fair few. And Eubank Jr. just stabbing to the body with the jab. The 1-2 as Conor Benn comes in is something that's consistently being thrown by Chris Eubank Jr. and consistently being landed. Yep, Eubank backing him up now, using the size a little bit. So far, a swing round for me. Not enough to really separate either man. Although Eubank Jr. doing some good work there, which is just about putting him ahead. Landed an uppercut, straight shot to the body. The variation from Eubank Jr. is, I don't want to say a million miles, but it is levels above the variation of shots from Conor Benn. There you go. He hits the elbow with the first left hook. Eubank Jr. follows through with the second left hook. And catches Conor Benn flush on the jaw. And the legs there of Conor Benn start to look a little bit unsteady there. Conor Benn landing on the inside, loading up with big shots there. Good couple of body shots landing from Conor Benn, but not the shots that he would desire or want. And it's actually Eubank Jr. that sends Benn flying back into the ropes. Better round here from Conor Benn. Good right hand there from Benn again. Both men landing at will. What a battle, what a war between both fighters here. I'm going to change my mind from what I originally scored it. I think that on the night, and I wasn't really properly sitting there and scoring it, I think that on the night that was another round that I'd given to Chris Eubank Jr., which in my head would have put him 4 rounds ahead. I'm giving that round to Conor Benn. That means that Chris Eubank Jr. on my scorecards now is 2 rounds ahead. 2 rounds ahead, in my opinion, Chris Eubank Jr. I've just about given that last round to Conor Benn. I think it was a good round for both men. Both men had their moments. I thought that Conor Benn made Eubank Jr. miss quite a fair bit in that round. Eubank Jr. made Conor Benn miss in that round. The 1-2 is something that goes underrated because in many areas of the arena you don't see it, but Eubank Jr. was landing it. Conor Benn comes to that screw shot straight away to start the round. Still got Eubank Jr. 2 points up, and there, when Conor Benn throws those sort of big ones, I feel like Chris Eubank Jr. finds it very easy to see them coming and to time them with his own counters. Championship rounds now, 9, 10, 11 and 12. This is where you would expect Chris Eubank Jr.'s experience, having been in there with the likes of Billy Joe Saunders, George Groves, as he lands a great jab there on Conor Benn. Even fighters that were world champions but past their best in Arthur Abraham, Liam Smith, James DeGale. You still learn so much from those fights. And now, Chris Eubank Jr. imposing himself. Uppercuts on the inside, letting the hands fly. It almost looks like the penny has dropped with Chris Eubank Jr. here. And he's starting to understand that actually Conor Benn can't live with me on the inside. The narrative going into this fight has been that Conor Benn can rough Eubank Jr. up on the inside and use that explosiveness. But Eubank Jr. looking the stronger man and looking like his punches are more effective, more telling on the inside. Not much being landed clean here, but definitely a lot of energy being taken out of both man. And Chris Eubank Jr. with a short right hand there. He knows when the big shot's coming. He comes underneath it. Conor Benn with a left hook in there. Close stuff, but Eubank Jr. getting the better of the inside work here. 2 shots there. A left hook finishes it. And it's Conor Benn, notice, that is trying to tie up at this moment in time right now. Yes, he's pushing Eubank Jr., who's now cut above the eye back. But there's still those moments of trying to tie up. Eubank Jr. knows he's cut here. Eubank Jr. uppercut on the inside. Conor Benn getting to work on the inside. Both men trading big hooks. And there are uppercuts going into the body of Conor Benn here that, again, I just felt like the commentary team that I was watching weren't accounting for. There was a lot of Eubank Jr.'s work. Double left hook again from Eubank Jr. landing that wasn't being accounted for. 2 right hands on the inside as Conor Benn ties the arm of Chris Eubank Jr. I don't know what he feels it's achieving because really he needs the space to be able to work. At the same time, I'm not the one taking those punches. I can't say how hurt Conor Benn might be in this moment. But this round, he's took some big shots off Chris Eubank Jr. They meet each other with the jab there. They meet each other with the hooks very level. But it's a round to Chris Eubank Jr. He is 3 points ahead now, entering the 10th on my scorecard. 3 points to Chris Eubank Jr. He's up on my scorecards. And again, watching it live, it really is the moment when you start to think, well, Conor Benn has not only never been in with anyone world level, he's never been in with anyone of Chris Eubank Jr.'s standard, you know? And when you look at who Chris Eubank Jr.'s been in with, you can't compare the likes of, you know, George Groves, which wasn't a prime George Groves, but still a capable George Groves, to Conor Benn. You can't compare the likes of an up-and-coming, not yet at his prime, but approaching those prime years, Billy Joe Saunders, to a Conor Benn. You just can't do that. But I think that you can look at Liam Williams, who had put in a spirited performance against the world champion at the time in Demetrius Andrade, and you can make comparisons between him and a Conor Benn. I think Liam Smith, you can make comparisons between him and a Conor Benn. There's fighters like Marcus Morrison that Chris Eubank Jr. has been in there with, so there definitely are fighters that you can make comparisons with. Younger guys, hungry guys. And at the moment, it's Eubank Jr. getting the better of things at the start of this 10th round. Left hook there from Conor Benn. Eubank Jr. really investing down to the body now in those later rounds. And it's good because Conor Benn's feeling those body shots. The hands drop. And then Eubank Jr. comes over the tops with those uppercuts and hooks. Conor Benn attempting to the body, hits the elbow of Eubank Jr. Eubank Jr. sneaks in a right hook on the inside here. You really have to watch what is going on here, because it can transcend into chaos and make you think you're watching one thing when you're really watching something slightly different. And although Eubank Jr. slumps in between the ropes here, the better inside work for me coming from Chris Eubank Jr. so far. He's getting his elbows and his arms in the places that they need to be to not only protect himself but fire back off. There's a good two-shot combo from Conor Benn. And then with the left hook again, big moment here for Conor Benn. He landed the right hand, left hook to the body. Then he threw the right hand but missed, but landed the left hook to the head. Two better moments there for Conor Benn. Wouldn't say it's enough to swing the round level, but again, this is why people would like to see a rematch of this fight. These rounds are close, they're competitive. Neither man is out of ideas. Neither man's out of chance of landing something pivotal. Conor Benn slips inside there with the left hook to the body. Doesn't think it has that much effect. And Eubank Jr. back on the jab, lead hand hook. Conor Benn with a good hook upstairs and body shot downstairs. And then a left hook and a right hand on the chin of Chris Eubank Jr. There's enough there that with a minute in this last round, I've got Conor Benn just ahead. Just ahead. Now Conor Benn retreating. Eubank Jr. backing him up with a jab. The uppercuts on the inside not quite landing. But now Eubank Jr. is getting to work. Landing these short shots on the inside. They're both trying to maneuver to work while he's out. Conor Benn throwing, not landing much. Eubank Jr.'s a touching and scoring. It's experience. I'm not comparing the two, but much like an Alexander Usyk would probably say, it's better to throw something and land it than to throw something huge and miss with it. And it's a swing round here. Very, very close. It's a swing round. I'm going to say, gotta watch the end of it. Bell's just gone. That's such a close round. That's such a close round. I think I'm going to put Eubank Jr. 4 points up off the back of that round. I think now, going in to the last two rounds, I'm giving Eubank Jr. a 6-2 lead. And it's mental because you watch the highlights back and you'll see some major moments from Conor Benn. But that was always something that he was going to have. He was going to have big eye-catching moments where he lands huge shots. I don't think you can throw your body into shots with that same sort of tenacity that Conor Benn does without having those eye-catching moments when they land. But you've got to look at the 3 minutes as a whole. And the 3 minutes, I would say, Eubank Jr. did better. Round 11. I've got Eubank Jr. 4 points up on my scorecard. 6-2 going into this one. Some good inside work there from Conor Benn. Eubank Jr. the one initiating the hold by the looks of things here. Oh! 3 or 4 heavy punches thrown there from Chris Eubank Jr. One of them gets through. Conor Benn doing some good work at the same time and being busy here on the inside. Uppercut to the body from Conor Benn. Pushing Eubank back as if he's the one with the stamina now. He's the one that can go, maybe. And although it's a great shot there. Conor Benn lands a good uppercut to the body. Chris Eubank responds with a quick uppercut to the chin. 2 double jabs from Eubank Jr. And that's where Conor Benn needs to work. As soon as he gets him on the inside, flurry of shots, work and go again from a new angle, because you do all of that just to get caught by a right hand from Eubank Jr. on the inside. And the eye-catching shots, the sort of shots of quality in that moment end up being landed by Eubank Jr. Shots that don't get called out by the commentary, like the uppercut there from Eubank Jr. Going somewhat unnoticed. Conor Benn working the body a little bit in here, making it hard for him. Right hook there from Conor Benn. That's good work. Left hook to the body from Conor Benn as Eubank Jr. explodes with a few. Both men slumped into each other, but they're happy to have it on the inside like that. Conor Benn, oh, big shots from Eubank Jr. Having an effect, pushing Conor Benn back, fighting at will, pushing forward. Eubank Jr. here. So far, both men have landed some great shots in this round. And again, I'm edging towards Eubank Jr. as he has a look up at the clock to see how long he's got. To see when that last flurry needs to come from himself. He's ahead in this round for me. Conor Benn, some good work on the inside, but he's getting caught there. One of them was from the shoulder. Eubank Jr. having a look. He knows he's got now 20 seconds left on the clock. Conor Benn, good inside work. Both men sharing their moments. It's a real swing round. It's one you could score level, this one. Oh, good shot, Eubank Jr. I've got him 5 points ahead. I think once again, a swing round, definitely. I think if you were one of those in the crowd, probably a few pints deep, you're definitely going to be looking at that round and going, well, how do I separate them there? Because both men having moments, both men having their head rocked back, both men landing great body shots that may have gone a little bit unnoticed to the untrained eye or members of the crowd that weren't in positions where you could really see what was going on the inside. It is hard to be able to determine that, but the better shots again there coming from a more aggressive version of Eubank Jr. using his size and working Benn back with shots. Conor Benn showing a great chin, by the way. Going in to the 12th round, I've got this one. Eubank Jr. up by 5 points at the moment. Oh, great work there by both men. And a big left hook lands from Eubank Jr. Huge shot on the inside. Smelling blood here, Eubank Jr. Feeling like he could potentially be just a punch or two away from getting Conor Benn out of there. And Conor Benn's style, probably not. Oh, he lands a nice right hand left hook there himself, Conor Benn. But Eubank Jr. walks through it, backs him up to the ropes, and the onslaught continues. Conor Benn showing us something that we've never seen from him, which is being able to come through absolute firestorms like this. I know people talk about the Cedric Paynard fight where he was dropped a couple of times, but the pressure was not this relentless, and Paynard was nowhere near the level of quality of Eubank Jr. Both men making their dads really, really proud, serving the family name so well here. Conor Benn opens up on the inside with a few body shots. Good bit of work there. Oh, big shots. Left hook there from Eubank Jr. that really could have took many a fighters off of their feet. It's the right uppercut that I think Eubank Jr. needs here. Conor Benn slumped against the ropes from that left hook, but now he looks like he's got the bounce back in his step. He's got a great chin, Conor Benn. Great chin, being able to take these shots. Another big left hook in there again. Eubank Jr. smelling blood big time here. Didn't realise on the night how close this came to being stopped. If you've got a Howard Foster, someone like that in here as a referee, he's stopping this fight in favour of Eubank Jr., who ironically is the one slumped against the ropes. Conor Benn lands a great right hand in there. What a fight this is. One for the ages. Both men. Oh, huge left hook landed from Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn stays on his feet. And I'm not even going to say kept up by the ropes. He stays on his feet. He fires back. Heart, guts, will, determination, drive, ambition to really, really cement a legacy upon the family name. And just by still being in here, he's done that. Good body shot land there from Conor Benn. But it's not enough. The best moments have been Chris Eubank Jr. absolutely teeing off, as he does there with the left hook on Conor Benn in that round. What a couple of warriors. Chris Eubank Jr. raises his hand. It's another Eubank Jr. round to me, which puts him 6 points up, I believe, on my scorecard. It might even be more than that. I might have got this completely wrong. Let me think back to it. I have gone round 1 to Eubank Jr. Then I've gone 2 and 3 to Conor Benn. I've gone round 4 to Eubank Jr., 5 to Eubank Jr., 6 to Eubank Jr., 7 to Eubank Jr., 8 to Conor Benn, 9 to Eubank Jr., 10, 11, 12. I've got Conor Benn with 3 rounds of that fight to Eubank Jr. having 9. That's wider, I believe, than I scored it on the night. I believe I've actually scored this one wider than I scored it on the night. So, to sum it up, I changed my mind upon the second viewing. Maybe hindsight is something that plays a part in that, knowing the outcome of the fight, knowing what happened, knowing what each man has said since the fight and whatnot. I'm open to the idea of that and the interpretation of that. But on the night, I scored it 116-112 to Eubank Jr., which is exactly what the 3 scoring judges scored it. Now, I've got their scorecards in front of me now, but before I speak about that, watching it back, I scored it 117-111 to Chris Eubank Jr., which is even wider. I only gave Conor Benn 3 rounds in the fight, which was the 2nd round, the 3rd round, and the 8th round. However, I did say, as I was going through it, that there were probably 2 or 3 rounds in there that were swing rounds. And ultimately, I do think it goes towards what you like in those moments. Do you like the aggression? Do you maybe like a little bit of the output? Although I have seen some punch stats that would suggest that Eubank Jr.'s output was superior in pretty much every round to Conor Benn's. Or do you go with the cleaner work, the classier work, the more controlled work, which I went with on a lot of those sort of swing rounds, which scored it to Eubank Jr. for me. A very competitive fight, a fight that both men can walk away with their heads held high from. But is it a fight we need to see again? Well, if you want to know the answer to that, let me know in the comment section. If you want a follow-up video on whether I think the rematch is necessary and what path to go for each man. I'm going to try and work hard on the boxing channel now. I'm going to try and make sure that I can get the reaction out to Usyk and Dubois. There was a push and a pull at Wembley once again. And obviously Tyson Fury posting, suggesting that he's linked up with Sugar Hill and he's ready to come out of retirement. But either way, thanks for sticking around. I will see you all in the next one.